Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the September 13th, 2022 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I would like to ask Commissioner Weems to give us an invocation, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Please bow our heads in prayer. God of peace, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us unity of spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their points of view. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for a great outcome. Help us to work as a whole rather than as individuals trying to promote their own agendas. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room and work together on our shared mission. Amen.
Amen. So thank you, Commissioner Weems. Appreciate that. So the next item is to approve the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda as presented?
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So the next item we have is public service announcements. At this time, we'd like to extend our condolences to the Fickey family. Mr. Bud Fickey passed away last week. Mr. Fickey was a longtime member of the St. Leonard Volunteer Fire Department, and he joined in 1992, and I think they say in his career ran over 5,000 calls. So that's quite an achievement for someone serving our community. So again, we want to extend our condolences to the Fickey family. Constitution Day is on September 17th. On September 17th in 1787, the Constitution was signed. So we have a little presentation a little later on the agenda where we'll recognize that event. We also, last week was 9/11 Remembrance. We need to remind everybody that we can never forget the lives that were lost that day. Over 2,900 lives were lost that day, and in that event. And someone mentioned the other day in a celebration that it's quite a contrast of how united this country was in 9/11, 2001, and where we are today. So we need to go back to where we were on that day and in that time period. So just can't forget all those people that lost their lives that day. And I can't not mention the passing of the Queen of England. It's a very interesting monarchy that happens in the, in England, United Kingdom, and it's the first time they've lost a royal in 70 years, I believe they said she served. So a lot of those citizens over there have never known anything but the Queen of England. And so it's interesting to watch the process and how that all takes place and changing of the guard, and we want to pass along our condolences to the royal family for their loss. She was a great woman and a great leader, so we miss her. That's all I have. So at this time, the next item on the agenda is for a proclamation for Constitution Week. Commissioner Gadway.
Thank you, sir. Do we have someone here from the Daughters of the American Revolution? Please come up, introduce yourself.
Yeah, right there at that microphone.
Right there, and then go ahead and come on up here when you're done.
I'm Lori McBrady.
I'm Carol Ruckert.
Come on up.
Come on up.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Do either of you care to say anything in opening comments?
No, sir.
Don't
And-
be shy.
I would say it's grateful for the
Yeah.
county for doing this. We're grateful
Yes.
for the county for doing this. So,
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Bob Harvey, Calvert County State's Attorney. As you know, there's a tendency in some quarters to look upon the Constitution as just a bunch of nice words written on a piece of paper. But we all know it's more than that. In my job as State's Attorney, it literally defines everything I do. It guarantees the people the right to have an attorney. the right to remain silent, not incriminate oneself, the right to have a trial by jury, and the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Most importantly, in my mind, it limits the role of government, defines the role of government in our day-to-day lives, and ensures what Abraham Lincoln said 150 years ago: the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish. So I commend the commissioners for recognizing Constitution Week. I hope that our citizens will take this opportunity to reflect upon the Constitution and what it means to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. State's Attorney. It's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it happens to me a lot, but the United States and the Constitution is the world's oldest representative democracy. Is that correct?
I believe that's true, sir, yes.
Okay. The Constitution's a beautiful document. It was written so long ago, but the words still carry the weight through today. And it's amazing to think that our country is the one that has set an example of how to succeed through a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. With that being said, whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to the magnificent document, its memorial anniversary, and the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each and every year by the President of the United States, designating September 15th to the 23rd, 2022 as Constitution Week. And whereas the mission of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is to promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism. And whereas the John Hanson Chapter, National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, promotes these principles in our community through participation in citizenship and patriotic events. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the week of September 17th to the 23rd, 2022, be known as Constitution Week. Be it further proclaimed that by this action we urge all citizens to study the U.S. Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American, with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. Given under our hands and seal this 13th day of September 2022, signed by all commissioners. Thank you.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. You're
Thank
really-
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Haynes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as Commissioner Gadway mentioned in his comments, the Constitution, if you think about the time and era that that was written and how long it's lasted, that is quite an amazing document that was constructed during that time frame and the forethought that those men had. And I'm sure there was a woman in the background telling them what to write. I know how that works. For this country, it is the longest serving democracy, and to look back and
In
to
the
see
history of the world.
in the history of the world that document today still stands. I'm not sure how they teach it in the schools today. I know how they taught it when I was in school, but we need to get back to remembering the words and meaning in the Constitution and what that truly means for us. So, thank you, Commissioner
Thank you.
Galloway. So the next item on the agenda is Employee of the Month Award.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You are,
My name is Taylor Smith. I am a procurement specialist for Finance and Budgets Procurement Office. I am here today as a member of the Employee Recognition Committee, or ERC, to introduce Calvert County Government's next Employee of the Month. For those who don't know, the Employee of the Month Award acknowledges individual excellence for superior job performance or other special individual efforts. Anyone can nominate a coworker for this award. Please be sure to check out the ERC's webpage for more information. But I am happy to announce that our August 2022 Employee of the Month is Cynthia Holland, fixed asset. She is Calvert County's fixed asset specialist, also under Finance and Budget's Procurement Office. For the last 6 years, Cynthia has worked hard to streamline the fixed asset management program and ensure the county's assets are accurately tracked. She is responsible for the acquisition, transfer, sale, and disposition of assets, as well as identifying the best market values for surplus property through online auctions. Cynthia currently tracks more than 2,600 assets valuing over $555 million. And the reason for this particular nomination is that Cynthia most recently hit a major milestone by surpassing $1 million in asset sales for the county through GovDeals, which is a government online auction. So that's amazing. Additionally, she's played a crucial role in the recent demobilization of the County Services Plaza through her efforts to categorize and tag all surplus items and organizing and managing the entire public countywide surplus sale of all the remaining items, which was a huge defeat. So that's great. And Cynthia, if you could join the Board of County Commissioners up front.
Come on up. You made us $1 million, you're coming up front.
So thank you so much, Cynthia. The ERC is so delighted to recognize you as such a remarkable coworker. You have put so much hard work every day, so thank you so much. And thank you to Amanda Odell on behalf of Finance and Budget for taking the time to submit your nomination. And thank you, commissioners, for your continued support of the ERC and for partnering with us to recognize Calvert County government's truly remarkable workforce. And I know Amanda Odell would like to say a few words.
It'll be short and sweet, and in addition to everything that Taylor mentioned, I can't thank you enough for everything that you do to make my job easier with managing the asset division, and you truly are an asset to us. I know that you've been doing this role for almost 6 years alone by yourself, and I can't thank you enough for everything you do for our team. We're so grateful for you. Congratulations.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, Cynthia. I wanted to come up and personally congratulate you. I saw the work that you did. I saw the changes that you were thinking of doing and that you've done. What you did with County Services Plaza was just phenomenal. I only got a T-shirt out of it, but, you know, Commissioners got a little more. But it's been great working with you, and great still, even though I'm not working with you, that I watch you grow and prosper. So thank you so much, and thank you, Commissioners.
All right, well, thank you so much, Cynthia. I don't know if you wouldn't want to say anything, but
Can we get a picture first?
yeah.
Oh, he's got to give her the, yeah, jeez.
Cynthia, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I want to thank my team. I want to thank Crystal because she helped me with GovDeals. And I wanted to thank my wingman, which is David Fox, but I don't see him because he's probably working. So, and thank all of you. Thank you.
Well, Cynthia, this is no surprise. This is no surprise that you're here. It really isn't getting this. I mean, your work here is been fantastic from day one. And, you know, with this type of award, it really shows it's teamwork. It really is a big piece of it. And it's who steps in when it's really needed and excels all the way to the top. And you have done that time and time again. So we are very proud to give you this. And as Commissioner Nutter always said, more important, the check. Did he? Did he? See, even more. So everybody will come down and take a picture. Move you to the center. Everybody that wants to keep.
Yeah. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
Right there, the crew's gonna come up.
All right, chop chop.
Mark, you just fill in the sides and
I haven't seen you. I was like, really, Charlotte?
All right. So if everyone can scooch as much as possible, y'all love each other, right? Yeah. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
Amanda, who's actually at the shop working?
I'm sorry.
Who's at the shop working?
Dave's holding down the fort for us.
Poor thing. So the next item on the agenda is appointments. Ashley?
Good morning, Commissioners. We have several appointments for today. First up, we have the Prince Frederick Town Center Architectural Review Committee. Staff is requesting that you appoint Thomas Reniker to the Prince Frederick Town Center Architectural Review Committee. You'll have one vacancy after that action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we appoint Thomas Reniker to the Prince Frederick Town Center Architectural Review Committee. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Next up, you have the Other Post-Employment Benefits Trust Fund Board of Trustees. And staff is requesting that you appoint Melanie Woodson and Sharon Strand as Calvert County government employees, as well as Zach Sewell and Tony Anthony Navarro. And you'll have 4 vacancies remaining once that action's been taken.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we appoint Melanie Woodson, Sharon Strand, Zach Sewell, and Anthony Navarro to the Other Post-Employment Benefits Trust Fund Board of Trustees. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Next up, we have the Economic Development Authority, and staff is recommending that the board adopt and pass the motion to appoint Claude Dickinson to the authority, and you will have 1 vacancy remaining after that requested action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second that we appoint Claude Dickinson to fill a vacancy on the Economic Development Authority. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Next up, you have the Calvert County Environmental Commission, and staff is recommending that you appoint Heather Kerr. And once that action has been taken, you will have 3 vacancies remaining.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we appoint Heather Kerr to the Calvert County Environmental Commission. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. And last for appointments, we have the Social Services Advisory Board, and staff is recommending that you appoint Jennifer Duff to the Social Services Advisory Board, and you will have 3 vacancies after that requested action.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Have a motion and a second that we appoint Jennifer Duff to the Social Services Advisory Board. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yesterday, I spoke to the Southern Maryland Leadership class, and they asked what they could do, to improve government. And what it was myself, along with the presidents from Charles County and St. Mary's County. What we said was to be involved in government. So you just heard us go through some appointments to some committees and boards that are part of Calvert County government, and you also heard that we still have vacancies. There is a list on the Calvert County website of vacancies on all the boards and commissions that we have. So I would encourage anybody out there to take a look at that list, and if you see something that you feel you can serve in, please submit an application. We have situations where we have commissions and boards that we can't get quorum sometimes to have a meeting because of vacancies. So please take a look at that list and see what you can do to help improve Calvert County government. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is consent. There are a couple items on consent. As soon as I get to them. So item 1 is Department of Finance and Budget Award Recommendation ITB 2023-001 Top Dressing Sand and Sand Blend. Item 2 is Department of Parks and Recreation Use Agreement with Calvert Aquatics Club. And those are the only 2 items under consent. Are there any items under consent that you wish to address? Hearing none, those items will be adopted as presented. Next item on the agenda is new business, Department of Parks and Recreation. Director Zoll, welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shannon Nazal, Director of Parks and Recreation. Now I'll go ahead and read the memo. So this is in regards to the Local Parks and Playgrounds Infrastructure Funding Program. Background: in the 2022 legislative session, the Maryland General Assembly and the Governor adopted a state budget that includes an allocation of $1 million in grant funds to Calvert County for shovel-ready park infrastructure projects managed by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, or DNR. The Department of Parks and Recreation is currently prioritized funding for this cycle to the replacement of the tennis courts at Cove Point Park. A funding allocation of $150,000 has also been offered to the town of North Beach and the town of Chesapeake Beach, totaling $300,000. Discussion. Eligible projects includes those that are ready for construction and can be encumbered in FY fiscal year 2023. Stipulations of these funds are similar to program open space grants with the following additional restrictions. No amount of these funds shall be used for projects that are inaccessible to the general public, require memberships, exclude the public because of higher user fees, or which include office, residential, or elaborate lodging facilities. Funding has not been allocated for replacement of the Cove Point Park tennis courts, though it is detailed in the approved updated Cove Point Park master plan. The town of Chesapeake Beach is requesting an allocation of $150,000 to fund park projects within that municipality. These projects meet all the requirements and restrictions of the funding source. An application, funding authorization for municipality, and letter of intent must be submitted to Maryland DNR in order to be eligible for the funding. Fiscal impact. There is no fiscal impact to submit the application and letter of intent. If awarded, a public hearing will be scheduled to amend the FY 2023 adopted budget to allocate $700,000 in grant funds to the CIP project number 4311 for Cove Point Park development. Conclusion recommendation. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the Board President to sign the Local Parks and Playgrounds Infrastructure Letter of Intent and Grant Application for Cove Point Park to the State of Maryland Department of Natural Resources, as well as authorize the Director of Parks and Recreation to sign the funding authorizations for the Town of Chesapeake Beach for eligible park projects up to a total of $150,000. I'll also make note that we have not yet received from the town of North Beach their projects that they would like to complete. And once we do receive those, we will bring those forward for an additional letter of intent.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Mr. President, I'd like to move that we authorize the board president to sign the letter of intent and grant application, and authorize the director of Parks and Rec to sign the funding authorizations for the town of Chesapeake Beach for eligible park projects up to a total of $150,000.
Second?
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
So just to give full credit, Senator Mike Miller is the one that started this process for us to receive this funding, and Senator Jackson has continued to make sure that we receive this funding. So I want to make sure Senator Miller and Senator Jackson both get recognized for that effort. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are running a little ahead of schedule, and we're going to pass over the presentation for now and go to work session. The first work session is Department of Planning and Zoning Text Amendment Case TA 22-03. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. With me is Rachel O'Shea, our zoning planner. And today we are starting the process with two brand-new text amendments. So you're seeing them for the first time, and we're going to ask for your direction to take them forward if that pleases the Commissioners. So with that, I'm going to let Rachel take us through the presentation for the First Amendment.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Go ahead and get started with the presentation. The purpose of today's work session is to review and discuss the proposed text amendment 22-03 to allow possible cemetery accessory uses. Then request direction to schedule a work session with Planning Commission to begin the public adoption process. Background. Planning Zoning staff received a text amendment application from the Chesapeake Memorial Gardens requesting that crematoriums and funeral homes be permitted as accessory uses to existing cemeteries. The applicant reasons that funeral homes and crematoriums are related uses to cemeteries and are businesses that are low intensity and have minimal impact to the surrounding properties. Prior to the zoning ordinance that was updated in 2006, crematoriums and funeral homes were actually permitted by special exception in the district that the applicant is proposing, which is now the Farm and Forest District. It was the rural district. So on the screen is a map showing the location of the Chesapeake Highlands Memorial Gardens off of Brooms Island Road down from Route 4. So this is the current zoning for crematoriums. It's currently permitted in the I-1 and conditionally permitted within the rural commercial district with the condition that the crematorium be accessory to a funeral home. A funeral home is currently only permitted within the rural commercial district. And then down below, cemeteries or memorial gardens, you can see it's permitted in multiple districts and conditional in APDs, agricultural preservation districts, as well as historic districts, with the condition that they're only to serve for the private use of the property owner. So I'm going to go through two options for consideration. One is the applicant's requested proposal as they submitted in their application. This would be to make crematorium and funeral home conditional permitted use within the Farm and Forest District, with the conditions that the crematorium shall be accessory to a funeral home and the crematorium shall also be accessory to cemetery. And for the funeral home, it would be accessory to the cemetery as well. And this is staff's recommendation that we go back to what was previously in the zoning ordinance prior to 2006, that the crematorium and funeral home were permitted through special exception, given that the crematorium is accessory to a funeral home and that the funeral home would be accessory to an existing public cemetery.
And if I could stop you right there. Just to clarify, a special exception requires that you apply and go to the Board of Appeals for them to grant a special exception.
So, Rachel, what if somebody didn't want to do a funeral home, but they wanted to do a crematorium next to a cemetery? Because
With-
right now, it sounds like they've got to do a funeral home to do the crematorium.
Right.
That's correct, and that's what it was prior to 2006, and that's a controversial use. I know that we had a lot
Which
of...
part, the funeral home or the crematorium?
The crematorium, for whatever reason. I know that technology has come a long way through the years, but we were merely taking it back to what it was when this particular project received their approvals. They did have approval for a funeral home and a crematorium, and those have expired. And then the ordinance changed, so they're no longer permitted.
I was going to say, because there's a hole in the ground and a foundation,
There is, but
because they were getting ready to go. And
They were.
For whatever for a reason that stopped.
Yes.
So after they did that, they halted their process, and we changed the zoning, which made the funeral home
Not permitted anymore.
not permitted.
Yes, and their plans expired, so they could not move forward.
Okay.
We're a little concerned about opening it up to the applicant's suggestion because there are a lot of existing cemeteries throughout the county, and we feel that that is something that perhaps the Board of Appeals should have to consider as a special exception instead of just a by right permitted use if you meet the conditions.
Any other questions?
With that, I'll move on to the recommendations and next step. That staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners discuss the proposed text amendment options and direct staff to move forward with the public adoption process by scheduling a work session with the Planning Commission.
So we could take both options forward, we could take one, we could take the other, it's up to you.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion and direct staff to schedule a work session with the Planning Commission to begin the public adoption process of both options.
Second.
A motion and a second that we direct staff to schedule a work session with the Planning Commission to begin the public adoption process. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
So we have a second text amendment that also came to us by application, and Rachel's going to take us through the presentation for that one as well.
All right, so the purpose for this work session is to review and discuss the proposed text amendment 22-04 to allow cigar lounges within the neighborhood commercial subdistrict of the Lusby Town Center, and then request direction to move forward with the public adoption process by scheduling a work session with the Planning Commission. Background. Planning and zoning staff received a text amendment application from Mr. Lincoln Lawrence requesting that the use of a cigar lounge be added to the Lusby Town Center use chart as a separate use and to be permitted within the town center. The applicant states that within the town center and within proximity to the proposed location for his cigar lounge is a liquor store and a restaurant/bar. The applicant stated that the current ordinance does not lend to this type of business model that is growing throughout the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia area, and that this proposed change will allow for growth of these types of businesses within the Lusby Town Center area of Calvert County. Currently, this use is permitted within the Village Commercial and the Village Edge subdistricts of the Lusby Town Center, just not within the subdistrict where he's proposing the lounge, which is what the application is for. So this slide shows a map of the location of the proposed cigar lounge. It's within the strip mall center behind the post office off of Town Square Drive in Lusby. And this slide gives you a map of all of the sub-districts of the Lusby Town Center. So the proposal is to allow the cigar lounge within the neighborhood commercial, which is actually kind of divided around the village commercial, which is one of the sub-districts where the lounge is already permitted, as well as the village edge district. So this is the current Lusby use chart that shows, so the cigar lounge currently would be under 22, use number 22, tavern, nightclub, lounge, and dance hall, which you'll see permitted in village commercial and the village edge district. So we'll go through the two options. The first option being the applicant's proposal, which is to create a separate use for cigar lounge and have it be permitted within the neighborhood commercial. So we've added it to the use chart and added a P under neighborhood commercial. And next is staff's recommendation. This would be to maintain the current use chart as it is and to then just add permitted under neighborhood commercial. It's already permitted in two other sub-districts that neighbor it, this district, and it seems to be within the same use categories as other uses that are nearby. So move on to recommendation, and next step, staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners discuss the proposed text amendment options and direct staff if to move forward with public adoption process by scheduling a work session with the Planning Commission.
So the text amendment before us today is only for Lusby Town Center.
Correct.
So why wouldn't we, if we're gonna make a change to the Lusby Town Center, why would we make that change consistent to all the town centers that have that sub-district?
There isn't another town center. The sub-districts are very inconsistent right now. So Dunkirk has one district. It doesn't have multiple districts. That's on one end. Solomon's has 21 sub-districts, and so they're kind of all over the place. There's no real consistency. So, I mean, Rachel actually did a chart of all of the town centers, and it is a permitted use in quite a few of those town centers where commercial is permitted.
But
There
there's
are.
not another town center with the same sub-district as Lusby.
No, I mean, some of the town centers have multiple districts with similar names, but they're not all done the same as Lusby. One of the options that a couple of the other town centers have as a condition, they're not right out permitted, but they're permitted through special exception if they meet this condition. Permitted use subject to special exception if less than 300 feet from residential building or site where there is an active house permit or an established historic district. So that is another option that the Board of County Commissioners can consider. It's in a couple of the other town centers. It's just not in one of the conditions in Lusby. Lusby does not have any conditions for this use.
So does the cigar lounge have to be accompanied by any other business? Could I open up a cigar lounge solely on its own?
Yes, that's currently permitted. It would be permitted as commercial sales.
But if I wanted to serve alcohol, then I have to get an alcohol license and go through that process.
That's correct. That would go through the liquor board, and they reach out to us to make sure that there is zoning compliance before they issue liquor license typically.
And in this sub-district, is there restrictions or allowances for alcohol sales?
It's permitted because there's a liquor store and a restaurant that serves alcohol, both in the same center where this is proposed.
So those are already permitted without a special exception?
Yes.
And we're gonna make the cigar lounge allowed without a special exception?
Consistent with what is, the neighboring uses.
And the only other decision that we could include is if we wanted to encompass those other town centers that have the similar sub-districts.
You could, yes.
And is it my understanding that the difference between the current establishment that has on sales is a restaurant by definition, and the majority of the funds come from food sales? That's the difference in what we're going to here?
Yes.
Looking at this?
Yes.
They wouldn't have food sales at this lounge.
I do think they're
cigar.
going to have snacks,
Okay.
They're going to have some food offering, but it won't be to the extent that it would be more than 50% of the alcohol or the cigar sales.
Which is what then in that token requires this?
Yes.
Okay, understood.
We always, when we get a unique use in the office, we try to find the best fit for it on the use charts without, like was proposed, creating a cigar lounge, because realistically, how many of those are we going to get? We try to fit it into an existing use and then work with them. And in this case, it just needed a text amendment.
Do we have any other cigar lounges in Calvert County?
Not that I'm aware of. Mm-mm.
Questions? Action.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we forward the work session with the Planning Commission to begin the public review and adoption process. And I'd also like to, as Commissioner President Hand stated, put the option of further study on the other zoning districts.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second that we schedule a work session with the Planning Commission to begin the public adoption process, and we include in that process discussion about extending this exemption to other town center with similar subcategories. Is that,
It's reasonable, yes.
that's what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
John?
All right. Any
Thumbs
other,
up.
any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Next item is a presentation from the Calvary Library, One Maryland, One Book. Come on up. Yeah, come on up. You got stuff.
Hi, Carrie.
How you doing? Thank you.
Appreciate
How are you?
Thank you.
So you have 3 or 4 books for me, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
thick ones with
you
small
got a
print.
cart full of books you're going to bring up, right? Yeah, yeah.
Big, thick
One
books.
will not do.
The bookmobile's on its way for Mr.
The
Commissioner
bookmobile,
Hart.
there you go.
You'll have that read by the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Carrie Wilson, Executive Director of Calvert Library. Thanks for having me here this morning to talk about this year's One Maryland, One Book. This is the 15th year of that program. This is run by the Maryland Humanities Council, and they convene a group of librarians and teachers and book lovers and authors to select a title around a theme. And this year the theme was New Beginnings. And the book that won out is called What's Mine and Yours. So this is a book by Naima Koster, who will be visiting the La Plata campus of College of Southern Maryland on Tuesday, October 4th at 11 a.m. So that's a really inconvenient time for you gentlemen, but be a good opportunity for the community to get to hear the author and do some Q&A. What's mine and yours? Huh?
We can phone in.
You could phone in, yeah, absolutely. To one or the other. I'm not sure this might be more important.
Maybe.
What's Mine and Yours is a New York Times bestselling novel. It features the story of a North Carolina county where an initiative was set in motion to bring black students from the west side, black students from the east side of town to a predominantly white school on the west side. So it's the story of one mother who's determined to protect her son as he finds his way as an anxious and sensitive young black man, and another mother who refuses to see her half-Latina daughters as anything other than white. The two families connect in a number of ways that are basically that neither family is prepared for, and the story takes place over a couple of decades. So it's not, it's a really good book. Jennifer just finished it. She said she was a little sad about the ending. I told her not to tell me I haven't finished it yet, so I don't want to know. But it is a very engaging story. It weaves in and out and around and through, and it's very well done. So we're also, as Calvert Library, holding multiple book discussions through September and October, and you can find all of the associated events with One Maryland, One Book on our website, calvertlibrary.info. So that's my talk for you this morning about the One Maryland, One Book.
You know, I was thinking about you the other day. Somebody was talking about libraries and all, and, you know, you have been so steadfast with libraries. You really have. You've been, positive and pushing. And, when I was telling somebody, and it's funny coming from me, okay, people, they discount libraries these days. They really do. They say, I pick up my phone and I say, hey, Siri, tell me about elephants.
Right.
But, what they miss is, when your teacher told you that we want you to write a report about an elephant in your 3rd grade, 4th grade, go to the library. It's about teaching a problem-solving process.
Right.
It's not about the books in there about elephant. It's about having to walk to the building or to the room or what have you, and figuring out how to source that book. As simple as it sounds, for our generation, we were taught it early on, but to have to go source that book, and which book is it, and using the Dewey Decimal System, and this problem-solving process, and then to find the book, and then actually write the report about an elephant.
Right.
Where now you just talk to your phone.
We do, but there's still that information sourcing process, and even in the digital with using library
It is,
databases, it's different.
But think about
but-
all of the steps
Yep.
to do that and how it translates in life to where, okay, I go to start my car and the battery's dead. You know what I mean? And my father used to talk about that with education, about it. It's not so much always the subject as it is teaching a problem-solving process to take with you with everything. But
absolutely.
I knew this was coming up, and I was thinking about you, and I was talking to somebody about libraries, and I'm like, that really gets missed.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you want to know why the sky is blue, you ask your phone.
But you have to know enough to know whether what it's telling you is right.
Well,
right?
that's
So
the
there's
trick,
still a problem-solving
right? And
process
that's
around
the
it
trick.
with digital
So,
literacy.
I was just thinking like how that so gets missed,
Yeah.
and that was such a neat process in life as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. Do you have any other questions for me?
So while we're here, how's the
Yeah.
Twin Beaches Library coming?
It's coming. Linda Vassallo is not here today, but we owe her some thanks for helping to get BG&E moving around. And so they did a test pile for the concrete pile it got poured 2 Thursdays ago, and it's getting tested tomorrow. So hopefully it'll get a passing grade, and they'll be ready to do the rest of the piles. But, yeah, it's exciting.
And we are on, what's our timeline?
We are, the construction timeline technically goes, it's a Christmas present in 2023. I figure maybe New Year's or Valentine's of 2024, just, to be generous. But you said it was going to be 12 months, so who knows, buddy? Sometime between.
Just
sometime.
typo.
Yeah, just a typo.
Just a typo.
Yeah, things are going well, though, with the
Everybody was
2024
excited
grant.
when I said that, except the construction company.
I know. The Scheibel guys' faces were a little.
They kind of looked at
little
each other
funny.
like, what? 12 months?
But our 2024 grant is, looks like it's going to be successful too, to help with the furnishing, so we're doing really well with the
We've already had a
grants.
couple little hiccups, so
Yeah,
Valentine's Day might be.
might be more appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can throw a
It'll
big
be a present
Valentine's party.
sometime. Exactly. It'll be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That's good. And the library otherwise?
In general, is great. Yeah, we had super successful summer STEAM programs with the grant that we got in partnership with county schools and Bowie State University. And so we ran 3 weeks of summer camp for 6th graders, rising 6th graders. It went extremely well. And then we're going to do a series of fall programs for that kind of same group of kids. So that's gifted and talented programming with the public schools. It's exciting. They did really cool, they made video games. We surveyed the kids and they decided their top interests were climate change and video games. So they made a video game about climate change. So they all these like trash monsters that were like getting plastic out of the oceans. It was really cute. But they did that with some pretty simple coding programs that did. So it was neat. Yeah.
So now you have collaborations with the schools. How about CSM?
Not as much. We work with them a little bit, but our model is just so different. Ours is completely free education, and they really have to charge for what they do. And so it's a little complicated to do programs with them because they need to charge and we need it to be free. And so it's a little weird, but we're always on the lookout. They're doing something in the next, probably won't happen until 2024, but a grant through the American Library Association about migration and anthropology and the way people have moved like through Southern Maryland, but also through the country and through the world. and that's in partnership with the anthropology program, but I just got myself confused. That's the college of St. Mary's. That's not CSM, sorry.
That's
So no, I got nothing for you, buddy, yeah.
Jeez, I'm trying to help you here.
I know, I appreciate it. Everybody in education has their lane, right? And so CSM does an amazing job of helping people get ready for college and career, and we mostly help kids get to CSM.
And the bookmobile?
The bookmobile is amazing. They're just having a really good time and have making lots of new library cards every month and visiting lots of folks. They did some neat summer camps this summer as well.
So how does that work? What's the schedule for the bookmobile?
It is online. You can see it, but it does neighborhood stops in the afternoons and early evenings. So, sometimes it's in the northern part of the county and sometimes in the southern part. But stops at like community clubhouses and anywhere that's safe to pull over and have a stop. So, goes to the Girls and Boys Club and all sorts of places. But they have about 20 or 30 stops now, I think. They have a really full schedule.
So if you're on the website, it tells you where and when?
It does, tells where and when, yep. So you can make your regular visit to the bookmobile, yeah.
And you work with the homeschool groups? I hear there are some groups of homeschoolers. So they come into you, or do they schedule books?
It's a little
bookmobile
both.
stop?
Depends on where they are and how they're organized, yeah. Yep.
All right.
Good stuff. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm giving you every opportunity.
I appreciate it. You're so good. You got your book?
He can't read.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, the biggest reader in the
What?
room.
Invitation, dated 1958. The original law was put in place in 1666.
Shoo.
Mark was there.
Don't you go say I was there.
The date was before I was born.
There is, like,
I
that's
can't
like,
say that, but
it's the history of roads in Maryland, and it's fascinating to see the price tags on roads in the 20s. Like $2 million projects for Crane Highway.
It's
like,
fascinating to see the price of roads 3 years ago, Karen.
well,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, it's
Compared to
just,
today.
it's shocking, like, it's all shocking. So thank you for your work on
We
keeping
hope this
us,
library comes in on budget.
yeah, okay, I'm gonna go now.
Thank you.
Carrie,
Our fundraiser is working really hard, by the way,
Thank you.
yes.
the
Yeah.
president was monopolizing the time.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask the other locations besides our new beach. Could you, for those uninformed in amongst our citizenry, where are your facilities located?
So there's, in addition to the Twin Beaches branch that's currently at Captain's Quarters, which is the little shopping center across from Roland's in Chesapeake Beach, there's the Fairview branch, which is at Owings and Route 4. And that also could be known as the northern location for voting for our
People
upcoming
didn't know it was a
election.
library there until they voted there.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. Anecdotally, a woman approached our librarians who were at the, it was an event in the beach recently, so what would that have been?
The farmer's market?
First Fridays.
Maybe it was.
Dragon
it
boat
was,
races.
No, it was before Dragon Boat, but yeah, and just said, gosh, it'd be so nice if there was a library up here. We're like, So thank you for asking, Commissioner Weems. So there's Twin Beaches and Fairview. Prince Frederick Library is there in Market Square. And the southern branch is currently in Solomon's in what used to be Woodburn's grocery store. They just had a leaky ceiling this morning, so we're looking forward to getting them in a more permanent location.
Thank you.
So, thank you
Thank
for
you.
asking. Yeah, thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Carrie.
Appreciate it. I'll make your library card when you come back.
We're doing really good.
I know.
That brings us to public comment. Mr. County Attorney?
Is there anybody in the, excuse me, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to provide public comment? Thank you. If you please walk to the microphone. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. The Ethics Commission has asked us to remind speakers at public comment that lobbyists include those who wish to influence public policy, and lobbyists are required to register in advance. The floor has been open for public comment. Persons in the meeting room first may begin making your way to the microphone, and then those joining virtually. All speakers must identify themselves and whether speaking as an individual, where you'll be allocated 2 minutes, or as a designated representative of a group where you'll be allocated 5. For those attending virtually, if you wish to speak, please press star 9 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual speakers will be identified by the last 4 digits of their phone number or screen name and unmuted one at a time. Please.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm Jana Post. I'm the president of the Calvert Aquatics Club, and I'm here today in part, to beg of you to sign the newest agreement, but primarily to thank you and to bring attention to the staff, not just Shannon and Bob, who have tolerated us while they were wearing so many hats when there were influx of staff, but to bring attention to the staff that are at the Hall Aquatic Center now, specifically Brooke, Zach, Sharon. There's plenty of others, but day to day we work with them. We have about 184 swimmers through our short course and long course seasons. In addition to that, we have 6 to 8 swim meets, which bring thousands of people to that facility, which also brings lots of people in business, people that are supporting our local businesses and provides positive economic impact for our county. It's a wonderful place. I hope to do business with you guys for many, many years. It's a wonderful program. We're a competitive swim team, so once they go through the Learn to Swim program, the Red Cross with Parks and Rec, they get to come to us and swim, and we participate with all of those activities as well as the high schools and things like that. So looking forward to many more years of business and perhaps a new roof on the facility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here representing the new Small Business Interest Group. I'm Jason Skaggs.
Right, when you squeeze it, raise it. Yeah, if you squeeze it, there you go.
I'm Jason Skaggs, owner of Skaggs Site Development. So today, I just want to say a few things about operating a business today. It's difficult. Not only are we dealing with all of the inflation issues, we're dealing with difficulty finding employees, and we're dealing with what is evolving into overwhelming local government regulation. A lot of news is on the topic of federal regulation, but I think the regulation on the local level is getting pretty excessive. So recently I was hired to help another business owner navigate what they thought was a horrible, possibly business-ending problem that they had with moving their business. So this business operated for 5-6 years in an existing facility, permitted, everything done the proper way, decided to move, saved their money, watched the market, waited until a property zoned what they needed, came up for sale, and they bought that property. They paid over $2 million for this property. When they moved in, they were bombarded by individual departments for why they couldn't be there. Couldn't meet a parking requirement, couldn't meet a this, couldn't meet a that. And the big one was, well, it looks like you're gonna have to re-permit the part of the building, and you're probably gonna have to put in a sprinkler system. Well, that sprinkler system is not on public water, and it costs about $400,000. So when I met this person, they looked like they were ready to commit suicide because they have all of these individual departments descending upon them, telling them why they can't run their business there. So this person thought that they just made a $2 million mistake. They did the right thing. They saved their money for 5 years, spent $2 million on a building, and they thought they just made a mistake big enough that they were gonna have to sacrifice all of that. What we've evolved to here is having individual people in planning and zoning that like to find reasons to say no. And I know everybody is scared of making a mistake. They don't want to get themselves in trouble or get fired, but we really need to focus on why we can say yes. So I was hired to help this person, and I went through the zoning ordinance, and I found reasons why we could say yes. And at the end of the day, it looks like everything's going to be okay. But it put this person through an undue amount of stress. They were ready to hire fire suppression people, lawyers, getting ready to spend tens of thousands of dollars to protect what they've already built because the government was saying no. And this is for a super non-intrusive use, doesn't bother anybody. When we get to things that I'm doing, you know, I feel like I'm having an even more difficult time. And what I would ask the board is that if you guys could take a look at how these different these departments are operating and see if we can get to. I know the role of zoning is to really to protect the other neighbor, you know, to make sure that my use is not intrusive on you. And if my use is not intrusive on you, let's find a reason to say yes. That's all I'm asking. You know, we need to protect the neighbors, protect other people, but in a situation where something is not bothering anybody, I think the way that the government recently has been coming down on some of these business owners is unwarranted to make that person think that they were about to go bankrupt. So in the future, I just hope that we can get to a more positive reason to say yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cormier, may I unmute yourself?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joseph Cormier. I just want to remind the public that tonight, Tuesday, September 13th, is the first CCAC meeting of the school year. We'll be meeting at 6:30 at the Board of Education. The link to join us online is available on the agenda, which is on the Calvert County website under Special Education. Friday, October 21st, is our what to do during a traffic stop training with Pathfinders for Autism and the Calvert County Sheriff's Office. Please pre-register for your slot. To do that, we'll also be having a resource fair, and we invite everyone to come out and learn about all the options available for you in the county. We'll be at the Harriet Elizabeth Brown Center on Dares Beach Road. I think you guys are doing great work, and I appreciate all you do. I am concerned about the zoning for a cigar lounge. We spend so much time and money trying to keep kids off of cigarettes and vaping, and I know that the hospital does so much work on tobacco cessation that I just don't think it's value added for our community to rezone something to add a cigar lounge to it. So I hope that when you meet with planning and zoning, you guys discuss that, think long and hard about it. Get an SRO in every school, work with the new sheriff and the Board of Ed. It's got to be a priority. I've talked to the superintendent, both sheriff candidates, and they're both on board for it. They just need the money to do it. So that's something we as a community need to work on. And Matt, thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that's the last speaker.
So that brings us to commissioner reports. Commissioner Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one. I was at the Optimus Club's 2022 awards banquet where they recognize law enforcement and their reach with the community and it was very nice banquet. It had everything from animal control to our first responders, and so they've done a good service for this community for, boy, I'm going to get it wrong, over 50 years, I believe. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McConkey.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Marty Seeley on his retirement. He had 45 years of combined service with the Maryland State Police and the Calvert County Sheriff's Office, and almost 50 years as a volunteer between Solomons and Dunkirk Fire Department. So I just wanted to wish him the best, and I think his wife is going to be retiring in the future, who's worked for Senator Miller for, can't remember how many years.
I hope their marriage can stand that. Thank you. Commissioner Gadway?
Thank you, sir. You touched earlier on this last weekend of September 11th. September 11th, I'd like to touch on again. It was a very, very traumatic time in our country. It did bring our country together across the board. For years, I didn't hear anybody arguing or bickering against each other. And out of that tragedy, there was positive that came in that manner. Something else happened on September 11th in 2012 that many people seem to forget, and that was the attack on our embassy in Benghazi, where many of our service members died, and an ambassador died there as well. So I ask that on the September 11th, from now and in the future, that we don't forget not only 9/11 and what the terror attacks have brought to us domestically, but also the attacks on that day that come abroad as well. This coming Sunday, I look forward to going to the Waterman's Festival on the 18th. I went last time for the first time last year. Absolutely amazing to see what these guys can do in a boat. I have to sit there and think about when I bring my boat into the dock, okay, the wind's blowing this way, the current's going this way, okay, if I nose up really careful going this direction, I won't hit anything, and make sure I have a couple other people there to help tie it up. These guys come in and do it all from the opposite direction in less than 12 seconds.
Oh, they're rolling. Yeah.
It's amazing. So I encourage everybody to watch it. Go down there, take a look at it, participate. They got a couple of vendors down there. Fun time. I hear the weather's supposed to be great, so I look forward to going again. Thank you.
Commissioner Weems.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I just want to congratulate Chad Martin, Deacon at Our Lady Star of the Sea, for 30 years in that position, and not just at Our Lady. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. So, this past week, we haven't met in 2 weeks. Last week, at some point, one day last week, we had 2 children struck the same day. When school started, we did a little announcement to be careful out there driving because of children getting on and off of buses. Just want to reiterate that again today. You have to be very careful. Children sometimes don't pay attention. They just in a hurry to get to wherever they're going and dart across the road, and so we have to be careful. One of those children was severely injured. She's in Washington right now, has severe injuries. It's very close to home because her father and I grew up together, and he was a member of the fire department. So you've seen, if you participate in Facebook, you've seen some prayers asking for her. So she's got a long way to go to recovery. The day of the accident, I'm not sure they thought she was going to recover. It was very significant. And it happened in a residential development, so it wasn't like it was out on a county road or, a state road where, you'd think somebody's just, speeding and not paying attention. It was in a subdivision. So, no matter where you are, please pay attention. Our children are very valuable to us. And, those couple seconds you're going to gain by speeding around a bend at the end of the day aren't going to gain you a whole lot. But the impact they can have on lives is tremendous. So, I was approached over the weekend by fire departments because this hit home to the fire departments, and the calls that they run, they see how many incidents we have involving children, and they wanted to know what we could do to start some kind of an initiative to get awareness out there to our drivers to just pay more attention. So maybe we can work on something like that, but I just want to take this opportunity today to remind you, please be careful, especially during school season, of our children moving about. Last week I attended the Comptroller Francho was in Calvert County, presented the Shaffer Award for outstanding volunteer work to the Friends of Calvert Seniors. So Friends of Calvert Seniors is an organization of volunteers that go out and serve the needs of our seniors. Take them to appointments, check on them, make sure they're fine. They've found grants to help pay for things for seniors. A wonderful organization that I didn't even know about until I got the invitation for this ceremony. And they said that day, we're asking for more volunteers. If you have some spare time, want to serve your community, to a group of our community that can't help themselves any longer. We have a wonderful Meals on Wheels program that goes out, feeds our citizens that can't get out, provides that point of contact so they're not home alone all the time. But this is just another organization that provides a great benefit to our community at no cost. And on the vein of announcing events, you heard us talk earlier, Arts Fest is this weekend. It's 12 to 5 at Anna Marie Gardens in Solomons. Prince Rate Firehouse is hosting a gun bash at the fairgrounds on Saturday. I don't know the times for that. And you heard Commissioner Gadaway mention the boat docking contest. All events that are very interesting to some of our citizens. We ask you to come out and support those organizations that sponsor those events. And we mentioned earlier passing of Bud Fickey, a longtime volunteer at the St. Lawrence Volunteer Fire Department. We again want to extend our condolences to the Fickey family for their loss and our loss. I think that's all I have. So, Commissioner Weems, you have a motion for me?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to recess to executive session pursuant to 305B1I to discuss appointees over whom the board has jurisdiction.
Second.
Have motion second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone have a great day.